Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in numbers upon it." Genesis 8 verse 15. And God said to Noah, hearing the voice of God. If you look at verse 18, so Noah came out together with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. So meaning he had, because God said to Noah, "Come out." In verse 15. And then in verse 18, Noah obeyed that. So he came out. So, hearing the voice of God. Let me tell you, people of God, there is a potential that will only explode if we hear the voice of God and do as the voice is saying. The Lord is saying to Noah, "Come out," so that there can be multiplication, there can be fruitfulness, and there can be increase. So the Lord is telling Noah, here where you are in the ark, everything inside there is potential of multiplication, is potential of fruitfulness, and is potential of increase in numbers. But where you are domiciled. And this is the key. Many people want to experience increase, fruitfulness, increase, multiplication. But you are in a container. So you need an open spacing. You need that freedom of exercising and practicing that potency, that potential. So what you need is a God who is speaking, because his voice is instructive. I told you this. This is what I told you. You can see and never become what you saw. Because seeing is like a plan. You're being shown a plan. But hearing is for the strategy, is for instruction. Seeing is for the vision, is for the plan. You see. But hearing is for the instruction. Let me use this example. The Lord showed Moses the tabernacle. He saw. The next thing was, God was telling Moses, use this material to make what you saw. Use this acacia tree, and then use gold. Use this type of material for the cutting of the tabernacle. What if Moses just saw and God didn't speak? He would have gone down there, maybe write down what he saw, and it would have remained just a revelation. But the Lord told him, see to it that you make everything according to the pattern that you were shown when you were on the mountain. So he was shown a pattern. If you read the book of Exodus, God is telling him everything, every item, the material to use, even in terms of quantity. Use this quantity. That's how God is specific is. So that's all we need to hear the voice of God, because the voice of God is the one that is carrying instructions that brings into manifestation of the scene. So if you don't have the voice of God, in most cases, you'll walk with a vision of God, but not in implementation level. Why? Implementation requires divine instructions. Do this, do it this way, and do it at this place. So God said to Noah, come out of the ark. So what we need to understand here is, where was Noah? Or how is Noah positioning himself according to the scripture to hear the voice of God? He was in the ark. God sent to him when he was in the ark. Remember, everyone who was outside the ark perished. Everyone who was outside the ark perished. But Noah inside the ark, he can hear the voice of God. So for you to hear the voice of God, you need to operate from the inside the ark. You need to operate from inside the ark. That's why Paul says in Acts 17 and verse 28, for in him we live and move and have our being. And some of your own poets have said, we are his children. So there is a voice of God you only hear when you are incubated in the ark. This ark speaks of what? This ark speaks of, for in him we live, we walk, and have our being. So it speaks of what was the symbolism of the ark of Noah. It was symbolizing the absorption into the presence of the Lord. Absorption, whereby you are absorbed. So you operate from now inside. The ark is symbolic of Jesus Christ. That ark was symbolizing Jesus Christ. That's why we have read that Acts 17 verse 28, for in him we walk and live in our being. So you can only hear the voice of God when you are operating within the confines of the presence of God, when you are inside the ark, not when you are on the periphery, not when you are operating from the outside. It is when you are operating from inside. The Lord spoke to him and he said to him, come out of the ark. So the voice was being amplified to the Noah's adoption or Noah's consumption because of where he is. So in the other, outside the ark, Noah could have tried to look for the voice, but he could not get it. Do you remember? First of all, he used the ego and he sent it to go and look how the situation is. And it didn't come. So he was seeking the guidance. Now it has happened. What next? And then he sent the dove. And the dove went out there and he came with a reef. And he realized the water have receded considerably. But still he did not come out. So first stage with an ego, seeking the voice of God, did not get it. Second, using a dove, did not hear. But when the voice of God came out inside the ark, that voice carried clarity. So you can hear the voice of God when you are operating from inside the ark. That is why Psalms 27 verse 4 says, one thing I seek only, to dwell in the presence of the Lord. Because you can only hear the voice of God when you are inside. Remember Moses, when he was operating from the tent of the meeting, he would go there to hear the voice of God, and then he come out and tell the people what the Lord has told him. But when he is outside the tent of the meeting, the voice of God is very limited. So you'll only be able to hear the voice of God if you are operating from inside Jesus Christ. For he said, in him we walk, we live, and have our own being. And then he says, remain in me, and I remain in you. Ask anything in my name, it will be given you. So when we manage to operate from inside Jesus, operate from inside Jesus, from that moment, the voice of God is as clear as possible and is